How to handle an abusive father, with these simple tips. Number 1. Don't get into a relationship with a man who's abusive in the first place. Let's face it, some men are not good for relationships. They are usually sexist, inconsiderate, and just not very good at what they do in relationships. But for those who find themselves in love with the wrong man, when the relationship does end, and he does treat you badly, don't say, "Oh, I wish I knew." Try to save yourself from having to fight a battle you're not ready for. An abusive relationship can be damaging to your mental health and physical health. Number 2. Avoid having any contact with an abusive father, as one of the best ways to handle him. All children dream of having a loving, caring and responsible father. Children are taught to respect their parents, not at the cost of their own self-esteem. It is not uncommon for a family to have an abusive father. Such a family may be subjected to physical violence and some other form of abuse from its father. A child who has had such a bad experience with their abusive father may find it hard to handle his or her anger towards him. The best way out of this is to keep the distance as much as possible. Number 3. Avoid being drunk on alcohol or any other substance when you are around an abusive father. Some abusive fathers are very controlling, not allowing their woman or children to leave the home. Being drunk or high on substances around an abusive father may result into him physically beating you up, just to fulfill his rage and anger towards you. Even if you are not drunk, he may always use it as an excuse to abuse you. This will destroy the family member's self-esteem, health and life, as they will be unable to make decisions for themselves. Number 4. To handle an abusive father, keep your kids away from him. Today, we all face one of the most difficult challenges in our lives. As children, you may need to deal with an abusive father or a violent husband, because it might be hard to isolate him from his children in this modern era. So, we need to create a system that will keep him away from the kids. A father is the most important and productive member in a family. He is responsible for bringing up the children, and he should be treated with respect. However, some fathers are abusive and even violent to their children. Number 5. Divorce will be a necessary tool to handle an abusive father. Divorce is an important tool to handle an abusive father. It helps the children and their mother to keep away from such a father legally if they were married. The divorce process might be a difficult process, especially when it comes to the relationship between the mother and the father. The divorce will be the first step in handling an abusive father. At least 1 to 3 families are likely to be involved in a divorce due to an abusive father. These people are always likely to be emotionally abusive towards their children and themselves. Number 6. To handle an abusive father, do not be hysterical about it. Try to get some space to yourself, and don't let him drive you mad with his anger. Sometimes, our fathers are very abusive to us. Sometimes, it's because they are really upset with something, and they don't know how to deal with it. They may also be trying to protect us from their own feelings or feelings of guilt. However, we can't just sit there and accept that things between you and an abusive father will get better. We all know that family is a very important part of our lives, and yet it can easily be abused by an abusive father. Try to get some space to yourself, or maybe even move out of the house. Number 7. Think of a way he is going to hurt you in the future, and protect yourself accordingly. This is a good way to handling an abusive father. Abusive fathers are very hard to deal with. If you are dealing with a father who is emotionally abusive to you, then you need to know how to handle such situations. A father is not a person you are going to meet on the street. He is someone who will do whatever it takes to protect you and yet has the power to hurt you in many ways. It's important to be aware of how he will hurt you and how he will try to control your life so that you can be free from him. Number 8. To handle an abusive father, don't allow him to use drugs or alcohol. Abusive fathers have a habit of drinking and drugging. This can lead to serious consequences for him, his children, and the whole family. The abuser needs to be separated from the kids. Fathers are not just fathers, they can be abusive, controlling, and even dangerous. If you live with an abusive father, don't allow him to abuse drugs and alcohol. Number 9. Don't buy him the things he wants if you want to handle an abusive father. It's obvious, we all want to be loved, accepted and respected by our parents, and it is a very important thing for most of us. But the question arises, whether we can actually get them to love, accept and respect us, especially if there is an abusive father. It's not easy to break up with an abusive father. Even if you know him well, it's still difficult to handle him. He may be the only one who understands your feelings, and neither you nor your parents can convince him that he is wrong in what he does. Number 10. If you are in danger, be assertive by asking for help, instead of running away from an abusive father. If you are in danger, it is important to be assertive and ask for help. This help might come from counselors, friends, relatives, or even the police. It is not always about running away from an abusive father, but instead the right way of handling it is by asking for help. Assertiveness is a powerful tool when it comes to dealing with difficult situations. It helps us to stand up and refuse to accept the situation the way it is,